Hey, hello and welcome. It's Theo from Time of the Sixth Sun. It's lovely to have you with us. And I am joined this evening by my friend Robbie. And Robbie is over in the Arizona desert on the other side of the world. I'm sitting here in Indonesia, so it's just after midnight. So, Robbie, good to have you with us. Thank you so much for joining.
Oh, it's a great pleasure, my friend Teo. Absolutely. Looking forward to a great show today.
Yeah, so Robbie and I have known each other for a little while, but Robbie has a fantastic and interesting background. He's actually an elite background in performance-based physiology and working with athletes. And Robbie and I were chatting, and I was like, Robbie, what are you working on now? He said, well, I'm working on this amazing project where I'm helping people over the age of 50 to get into great shape. And I said, okay, this sounds great. And we started talking about it more. And then he explained that a lot of people, and we were talking about it. I was just thinking about, I'm 47, so I'm not quite 50 yet, but I'm on my way. And and I was thinking about my mum, and I was thinking about her friends, and a lot of the people that watch Time of the Sixth Sun, from the demographic that I can see, they tend to be 80% ladies, and the majority of them are over the age of 45. And so I was talking to Robbie, and I was thinking about physiology and health and exercise, and our individual sovereignty, and how we almost have a duty to our, what do we call these shell suits that Jagamara calls it in the movie, to keep ourselves in the optimal health. But I know, for example, my mum started at the gym and got put off within about 4 sessions because she got hurt, and then she was just like, I'm not going to go do that again. And I wonder how many people there are out there that have exactly the same things, that have experienced falls, injuries, accidents in the past. And what Robbie has come up with is a way to actually overcome these things and to help people to get into great shape. So, Robbie, tell us a little bit about your background, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I originally went to school to be a physical therapist, and then my focus also double major with physiology, biomechanics, and nutrition. After school, I actually focused primarily in the fitness field. I was always interested in the therapeutic side, but really focused in the fitness field. Worked with a lot of different performance athletes, some bodybuilders. What I really enjoyed though is taking all my science knowledge and creating massive transformations in people. I thought it was really, really cool to see this, like, and have someone come in and start working with us, and they're definitely not in magazine cover condition, and then just completely transforming them where they literally are magazine cover condition. And what I found was in my career, my background and journey, and actually I'll add a little bit more. So I've had some amazing mentors over the years. I've been very grateful and blessed with having literally some of the most elite sports medicine doctors in the world as my personal mentors. And cumulatively, all of that plus an OCD level of study and science, and just diving really deep into subject matter in terms of physical health, quality of life, performance, all of these type of subjects. I developed systems that just work so well, and I would create these major transformations in people. But one of the things that started happening, especially with my bodybuilders, was three of them during show prep got divorced, and it was just a very self-consuming process. And so that led me into doing what we do today. I'll spare you some of the details because I know we'll get further into it, but that was really the initial thing and I had a intense amount of experience and science and all these things. But then on the heart level, I started learning that, like, man, for me, that's definitely not what fitness is about. And this needs to change. There's physical things wrong with it, and there's mental, spiritual, emotional things wrong with that, and in most people, that's the path of fitness they're in. So that's kind of like our lead up. We'll pause there, and we can go next steps in a moment, but that's my initial foundation.
Okay, great. But what made you decide you wanted to focus on working with people over the age of 50?
So, you know, I had this, well, first of all, what I saw, tying back to what I just shared, is that, there's, it's really not, that's not what fitness is about to me. And that and the more fit people got in terms of really pushing themselves and across the gym, like everybody in any gym anywhere, typically the more fit people get, the more broken they get. It's just like a race car. A race car is not a car that's like super durable and it lasts forever. It actually, the fastest race cars in the world actually have to be worked on every single race. So humans aren't that much different. They're a mechanical structure. They're a living, breathing organism, but they're also a mechanical structure. The more load and stress you put on it with, especially at this performance levels, the more breakdown you're going to have. So I started thinking about like, we should really do this in a different way. There should really be a specific reason why we do each exercise, and each session should lead to a therapeutic, a life improving result, not just performance and appearance. And so fitness does not always equal health, right? Mm-hmm. So because fitness does not always equal health, I knew that things needed to change. And so what we did, and I'm going to answer your question about why focus on people near 50 and over, is we did a 5-year research study. So we looked at 1 million different case subjects across the board of like all the things that cause negative effects in exercise, or like why someone has a bad shoulder or a bad hip or a bad back. Like, what are all the reasons that cause the mechanical breakdown to the body, right? It could be old injuries and stuff, but usually you should come back from that after you've either had a surgery or had some rehabilitation. Pretty much most of these things everyone should come back from. But like, what are the causation? What are the specific mechanical things? How much range of motion should each joint and each body part have? What is its specific alignment and its loading parameters and like all these things? So we literally spent 5 years. We developed our own custom software for this, our own custom analysis, a 3-hour-long analysis, and we would analyze people's body mechanics, punch the movement performance into the software, and it would spit out a diagnosis of like exactly mechanically what's going on with them. So I literally built this software with our team. And so the audience, or we call the market in business that we wanted to apply this to, was the people near and over the age of 50 for a few reasons. First, and the biggest, is I feel very strongly that anyone who really wants to take action in fitness and take care of their physical well-being should have a guaranteed path for results, a guaranteed path that is going to work really, really well and truly improve and truly optimize their quality of life. So, and what I noticed is fitness wasn't always that way, so often, even those working with trainers, they'll go and start work and they ended up broken or like having a shoulder issue or actually getting injured exercising. Like, these things are so common. And so, I want people to have a guaranteed path, and the people over the age of 50 stand to gain the most from exercise. See, it's really interesting because like people that, they get in their 60s and 70s, like, wow, I'm getting too old for that stuff. Like, and it's like, no, you're not. You're actually getting that, now you actually need that stuff more than you ever did when you're in your 20s and 30s, and especially in the teens. But that's a whole other extreme story. But teens, 20s, 30s, like, you don't need as much fitness as you do when you're in your 50s, 60s, 70s. That's the time you really need it, because, you're literally going towards like body decline. You're going towards death. So you need to connect with your physical being, your physical capabilities, and bring out that universal energy of and vibration of physical vitality. And so you need to practice that in the form of exercise. So, and then that's basically telling your body and the cells in the universe, like, hey, I have a reason to keep living. I'm vibrant. And so, there's no better population than the people over the age of 50 for that, because they stand to gain the most. So that's why I focus in that area.
Yeah, and it makes total sense. I had no idea you'd gone to that level of research and depth with that as well. So
Oh, yeah.
There's obviously, I mean, I know when we've talked when we're not on camera, that you're actually a very scientific mind. So I love that you've taken the two aspects of that together and put it together to create something that's really going to help people. And so when you let's talk about injury, because we spoke about this when we spoke last week, and you were explaining that actually the majority of people that start exercising do it wrong because they go out 100% effort, and the body doesn't need that. You're much better at explaining this than me.
Yeah. So I think it would be a good time to really illustrate this point. I think we should show the graph.
I'll bring up the slide.
Yeah. So okay, so think about this. Okay, I'm going to show you some details on this graph. So follow along with me. I'm going to make this all very understandable. Okay. And so first of all, we have the y-axis, so the vertical up and down axis. We see that says net exercise result units.
Yeah.
So think of this as like not anything super specific, but like a wide category of all the results you can get from exercise. For example, positive results would be like increased bone density, right? Increased muscle strength, increased metabolism and energy output and energy capability and stamina and mobility and a feeling of more euphoria in life because of exercising, a physical ability to have more recreational fun and connection with your kids or grandkids, and to experience life on a higher level physically. So those are all examples of positive physical results and net exercise results. But there's also negative, which we're going to get into, and a lot of people don't talk to. There's negative exercise results, and that's
fascinating.
Yeah, and that's tissue tears. Over the age of 50, you're much more likely to actually produce scar tissue. So, for example, when you do strength training, if you do it at the wrong intensity or too high of an intensity, and it doesn't even have to be that extreme, you can actually produce scar tissue. So, when you strength train and lift weights, your goal is to break down the muscle, which starts with a negative result, and then breakdown of the muscle. So then come back with stronger skeletal muscle and connection points of fibers and that type of thing. But what will happen oftentimes is scar tissue or fibrotic tissue is formed. And so you actually don't get new muscle till you actually produce scar tissue. And so that could be an exercise result. A net exercise. Another negative result would be stressing your immune system. Exercise is an immune system stressor. It's also an immune booster. But as you're going to learn in a moment, all of the positive results begin with negative results first. So you first load and put stress on your immune system because your immune system is the thing that recovers all those systems that you broke down. It's like the major element. You can over fatigue and stress your neurological system. Another negative result is heart stress. So oftentimes, like endurance athletes, they'll actually create atrial fibrillation or irregular heartbeat because of the level of stress they're placing on their body because they're doing too much endurance activity. And it goes down to, tendon sprains and all kinds of things. A negative exercise result could also be that the exercise experience isn't fun because you think that I have to push myself so hard to get like the best workout, and that doesn't agree with everybody, or everybody's body.
Right.
So those are all exercise results. Okay. So now on the horizontal axis, so along the x-axis, physical workload potential. Think of this on like how much output you're putting, and we can apply it in like a million different ways, but let me give you some examples. So if we're looking at like aerobic exercise, and of course, this is all relative to the individual's fitness, right? So the scale could change per individual in terms of a workload. So if we're going to walk like a half mile and just walk, right, that might be like a 3 for some person. And for another person, that might be like a 10 of overall physical workload. And then, to like do a 2 mile as fast as you possibly can, for an elite athlete, that might be like a 12 or 13, where, someone who's really not that fit, that would be like a 25 or almost off the scale. Like they like, it could like risk some serious harm to their body by trying to push themselves that much. Or you could look at physical workload as like lifting, like 10 reps, easy 10 easy reps of like pushing a weight, for example, or 10 really difficult reps. So you can apply this among any different type of physical workload, or it could be how often you're exercising or the frequency. So think about all those things as physical workload. Okay, let's go ahead and look at the next slide. So you have three major components of your physical workload. First, you have adaptation. Now, this is where it does get really interesting. So I try not to get too granular here, but I promise you, like, if you really understand this, you're going to have a mind-opening experience about exercise. Okay, adaptation, where you see that, and by the way, this is for a beginner. So this is like an arbitrary, like an average example for beginning fitness level. So this is a person who's in 0 to 6 months of doing exercise, right? Or doing some physical activity. And you have different types of physical activities. So like a person who's very strength trained is not necessarily a person who's very aerobic trained. In other words, doing a lot of cardio type of activity, and also the same vice versa. So you can be like a beginner on strength, but more elite on aerobic, or you could be, elite on aerobic, but beginner on strength, right? So it just depends. But okay, so adaptation is like your body's ability, like it's adapted to that, right? So, so for example, a person who is walking like, let's say, can walk like 7.5 miles. That would be their performance capacity, which we'll talk more in a moment. But that would be their performance. Like 7.5 miles, they're going to start getting really tired and starting to break down. Well, 2.5 miles of walking is the zone where their body would be not really breaking down. It's totally within their wheelhouse. The cells don't fatigue much. The body doesn't get stressed out much. It's totally adapted. It's in the kind of easy zone because the body's been adapted to it. So think about it like that. So all that RTF stands for resistance to fatigue. Okay, so it's resistant to fatigue up to that point. So that's what adaptate. Does that make sense? Any questions?
It does, totally, yeah.
Okay. So then if we look at performance capacity, that one's really simple. That's like, how much can you do? So how many miles can you walk maximally before you start getting really tired? How much weight can you lift for 10 reps? How much weight can you lift for 100 reps? How fast can you move 1 mile? Like you could apply this to anything in terms of physical workload. Fatigue state training, this is where we've gone so far that you're literally doing 100% breakdown of your body. There's no additional results coming. You're just breaking your body down. No positive result. You're starting to get into damage and tissue tears and that type of thing. That would be like fatigue state training. So if we go to the next slide, this red line that has now just appeared, this stands for the net negative results. So you remember when I started talking about exercise results, we have negative results. So your exercise results begin with negative results. Why? It's because the stress and the breakdown and the fuel substrate depletion and like the stresses placed on the body, this is the stimulus for your body to come back and get stronger. That's why exercise is so effective, is because it's actually learning from environmental stresses to get stronger and overcome. So you become a more fit individual, more adapted to your environment. That's exactly what fitness is. So it starts with breaking down your body, which you want to do in a very calculated way based on your own fitness level. And so, it starts really around your adaptation level. You get a very minimal to no kind of negative breakdown, but you see after adaptation, it starts to spike and we start to climb significantly as we go to performance capacity. And as a beginner, once you reach about performance capacity, your negative exercise results are going to spike up big time, very, very fast. So, so you're going to lead into overtraining yourself and getting all kinds of negative results really fast. Now comes the fun part. Next slide. Now we're looking at positive results, and this is what we're really after, right? So those positive results can actually start right away. So what's really interesting is like, you know, going from couch potato state, so back at like the 1 or a half or so, that's like couch potato state. When we just start to get up off of that couch, we start to move and be somewhat physically active. We start into positive results right away. But as those negative exercise results start to compound, then we start to see that the positive results are going to increase significantly. And notice where the positive results peak. You see that it's right around the 4 level.
Yeah, for sure.
So if we take that performance is at 7.5, and then we take 4, like we're going to be seeing that just past the 50% effort of workload, just past 50%, you're going to have like peak results there. Very low negative results, very little breakdown, but huge positive results as a beginning exerciser. So this is really changing the paradigm of what most people, when you see someone who's extremely fit, extremely buff or muscular and that type, you think, man, how many hours a day do you work out? 4 or 6 or like, you know, some crazy number. Well, the reality is most of the more fit, not all in this case, some have just overtrained chronically, but a lot of very fit individuals, and especially the ones that are healthiest, they don't overtrain. They play in that zone of ideal positive results with minimal negative results.
Okay, so just put in, so as an analogy then, just because in case people joined and they missed what we said earlier. So if we're looking at this bottom scale here, so let's say, for example, this was walking. So remember, it was 1 mile, 2 miles, 3 miles, 4 miles, 5 miles. So you're basically saying that if somebody was to start out by walking, say 2.5 miles, which is where your line is there, they're going to get the benefit. The green line is the benefit they're going to be getting as that goes up. But if they then decide that they're going, I know this is an extraneous example, but so if they were to then walk 7 miles, actually after that, the damage that they would start doing to their body is much greater than the positive results they're going to have.
That's
so
right.
The essence of this you're explaining is less is more, especially in the beginning.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. So that's really the key is understanding fitness and exercise from that level. Now, the really interesting thing is that, and we can remove the slide for a moment and then we'll come back to it.
Okay.
So the really interesting thing is like when you go from couch potato or unfit or physically inactive, and then you start going and you start like get to that 6-month mark of beginner where you're doing physical activity or playing in that right zone that we just talked about, the results on your health are drastic. You improve so much. You get such huge results. It's a really, really big deal. Like the health effect is a major exponential. But then when you go from like intermediate, which I'm going to show you in a moment, to advanced, you don't really get that much additional, but you get a huge effect by being really breaking through that beginner standpoint and having lots of initial adaptation. You have tremendous health results. But what the research shows us is by being like an elite athlete versus someone like in the intermediate stage, you don't necessarily have more results. And that's actually coupled with those who are truly elite athletes oftentimes have a lot of negative health effects. They get more tissue tears, body breakdown. They cause a lot of excess cellular stress, immune system stress. They can get colds and flus and all kinds of things more often because of that. So if we go back to the graph,
yeah,
and we see, now let's look at this. So we're looking at beginner. Now look at intermediate. So go back to beginner for a moment. And then look at it intermediate. Look how much the drastic, like, and of course this is like an average, but everyone will have their own graph, but it'll look something similar like this based on how fit or how adapted you are to certain types of exercise. So if you go from beginner to intermediate, you have a drastic improvement of adaptation, which I want you to understand that means that you gain like 200% more capability for your body not to break down from physical activity. That's huge. That means you're more vitality, more energy, more resilient, more capable. Like, and that's not just in when you're doing exercise. That's like what Theo and I are doing right now, working on mental capacity. Your ability to do everything in life drastically improves because of your physical fitness level has improved significantly. So, and now what you're starting to see is your positive result line. You have such a wider margin. You can play into pushing yourself more. You can play into more of volume of exercise. You can play into a lot of additional results and optimize that. But again, you're going to want to not go too far into and even to the performance capacity. So we can remove the slide for a second. So so think about this. Like, what do most people do when they go to exercise? They usually think, especially men, right? Women are, we all know that women are typically smarter than men, for sure. I know that. I've seen it time and time again. So what most men do is they go to the gym and like they're a beginner in exercise, for example, or intermediate, whatever, and they do like what they can do. Because like, oh, I read that, you know, you really start to get results once you go to failure. Not necessarily true. A lot of stuff happening before that, as you saw, but they'll like push themselves into what they can do, right? But you shouldn't actually exercise with what you can do. Think about that. Like, if you're not really used to strength training and you go and do 3 sets of 15 rows, like of what you can do, like you're really fatigued on the 15th rep. Well, how many sets of rows are you used to doing? Like near zero, right? Maybe you open the car door, a door going in a restaurant or whatever it might be, but you very rarely do that kind of repetitive fatigue. So your adaptation is like this big. It's so small, but then you do this. Like, what? Think about that. Like, why would you do that? Like, no, just go past what your body, just because you can do this doesn't mean you should stress yourself with that. Go past that. Get some adaptation, then go past that, get some adaptation, then go past that. And so by doing this, you get tremendous results. And that's really like, that's the way you optimize fitness results. So if we can go back to the graph one more time. So when you go from intermediate, next slide, to advanced, you get a little bit more results. And, you know, this is the range where like elite athletes will play in the far over to the right, near performance and past into fatigue state training, where they're getting a lot of body breakdown. They're getting peak results at that performance capacity zone, but they're also subjecting their body to fitness not equaling health, right? So if we can come off the graph there for a moment. So here's one thing that I really want to make a point of that's really, really interesting. Like, if we think about like the time of the sixth sun is, and like the loving, caring, nurturing spirit of the female energy and the whole universal energy, it really makes a ton of sense. Because think about like anytime you've had someone you've met where you just really feel a good energy from them, or you're deciding to take a decision in your life and you just feel really good about it. You kind of just know that's the right path. Or someone gives you advice or information and it's kind of like eye-opening. You can just feel it innately. You know when that thing that like has the truth. Well, that exists in exercise also. So what most people do in the way that you get the best results, what most people do actually is this. They feel not good enough. They feel like they need to fix that excess body fat. They need to fix whatever's wrong with them. They need to change what's wrong with them. Like they're coming from a point of not good enough, right? And so, and then they go into fitness, and so they push to the can do, and they're like, I'm going to make the result happen. Well, that's actually causing trauma on your body. You're literally like beating yourself with physical activity because coming from a not good enough standpoint. Well, really tying to like that, when I know it's the truth, well, we have a process called biomechanical optimization, which is basically training your body in such a way that it matches what your body is ideally designed for. So it's like the way our neurological and muscular system most safely handles physical load and stress, while also having the most efficient and high capability output. In other words, there's a specific way that your body, like your feet and your ankles and your knees and your hips and back and everything should work together and align. And when we go and do exercise, usually that all those things aren't respected. It's more about like just pushing the weight or moving the weight. It's not about respecting the ideal and optimal functionality of the body. Well, when you exercise in such a way that you're conditioning and going in line with what your creator intended for your body, you actually will have significantly more mental, emotional, physical results, and everything becomes what I call therapeutic. It becomes, in other words, health improving, vitality improving. It's not just like a fitness result, it's a whole body connection, ideal functionality connection, right? And so that's what we call biomechanical optimization. It really starts with love and caring and nurturing for your body, because you have a $1 trillion machine. Each of you have a $1 trillion machine that you're walking around with. And if you respect your body like that and train it like that, the results are going to just be absolutely phenomenal. So one of the big questions that people have is like, how do you get the best positive results? Like, and what you should do, like, what should I do for exercise, and how do I apply this? And how, because biomechanical optimization, for example, is a really complex subject, like how to function properly in each part of your body. Well, we actually teach that in an event called the Full Body Fix. And so we go through, actually, let me pause there and see if you have any questions, and then we'll go forward.
No, there's no questions. But if you do have any questions and you're watching and you want to type them into the comments, then you are more than welcome to do so. We've got people. We've got Essie who says hello from Nevada. I've got Anne Cuppy, who's been a long-term viewer of us. Good to see you, Theo. I love new knowledge. But if you'd like to put anything in the comments, you're more than welcome to do so. So tell us about the Full Body Fix, because you've had thousands of people over the age of 50 go through this with you, and it's all done online. Is that right?
That's correct. Yes. And yeah, and then I just want to second what you said. Like, if anything I've shared so far that you want more clarity on, you want more answers on, anything, please feel free to write your questions or indoor comments in the chat. Would love to answer those for you. So yes, we teach our biomechanical optimization process, because a lot of these things you're learning so far are like conceptual, but like, okay, well, how do I apply that into exercise? Like, what is the optimal function for my body? So what we do, because most people near the age of 50 and over, they have some issue. Like, they have issues with their feet, their ankle, their hip, their back. Like, you're not alone. Like, the high majority have some issues they're walking around with. And one of the things that makes exercise really difficult is it's painful, it's uncomfortable, it's a lot of negative things. Like, so how do we get the best results and get past those issues in the body? Well, we have something called the Full Body Fix, where we go for an entire week together. It's 5 different sessions, 5 sessions. Each of the session days, we have 3 times available, just to make it totally easy and accessible for you, regardless of your time zone. So, in your schedule. And so in each session, I teach you something different. So in the first session, we go into feet and ankles, and it's mind opening, just like all the functionality of feet and ankles. And I teach you how to analyze your feet and ankle functionality, and then give you exercises to optimize based on what you're seeing for your own personal functionality. And then in the second session, we do something very similar, but we do that for your knees and your hips. And then in the third session, we go through pelvis, lower back, and upper back. And in the fourth session, we go through shoulders and neck. And all along, I'm teaching them like how to analyze your body, how to see the functionality, and then what is the best exercise and movement for you to do to optimize that area. And then in the fifth session, we have what we call a breakthrough strategy session. And we can bring in some famous, I have one of the fittest 80-year-olds in the world who comes into the fifth session with us at the Full Body Fix and shares with you what he's done. So regardless if you're 80 or not right now, if you're 70, 60, or 40, or whatever your age might be, like if you're following the advice of one of the fittest 80-year-olds in the world, of course, you're going in the right direction. So we provide all of that to you at the Full Body Fix and a whole lot more. Even at the end of the session, we actually open to Q&A. So after I've taught you in a fitness type of setting, and it's totally accessible for everyone. So it's not like if you're very unfit, like we have people who attend who are in a walker. We have people who attend or who are like elite marathon runners, because one of the commonalities is everybody's a human, and we've all have the same body parts, and there's certain functionalities that you should create. So regardless of your fitness level, it's totally accessible. It's not some rigorous workout. It's more of an education and a learning about your own body, and like a mind opening experience about your body. It's very, very enlightening. And so regardless of your fitness level, it will match you. At the end of each session, I do a Q&A. So if you have any questions, I'm able to answer your questions. We get specific, and it's always great because those in attendance who ask questions, others end up learning from them, and they have the same type of situations. And it's just a really great connection, learning experience. And it's free. So actually,
and it's free.
Yeah, and it's free. All that, and it's totally free. So there's no fee to attend the Full Body Fix. You can just go to the page here that Theo has dropped in the. Did you drop this in the chat?
I put it in the chat as well. Yeah. So it's timeofthe6sun.tv/fitness doctor, and then that will take you straight to Robbie's page. And I mean, and also I just grabbed this from your website earlier. What are people saying about the Full Body Fix event? I don't know where I'd be if I didn't have this. I'm so appreciative. Sachin said, absolutely love the training. Thank you for reintroducing me to me. And Shoshana said, I feel for the first time in a long time that I may never need surgery on my knees. And I just need to hide the banner so I can read the bottom one. The bottom one says, now I'm excited to look forward to the next 10 years of my life. So that's the sort of feedback that Robbie's been getting from people that have been through this before. And you're going to cover so many different things in there, aren't you? About, how to get best physical results from fitness, and how to strengthen your legs and feet without load or resistance, to avoid things like ankle rolls, sprains, or orthotic devices, how to eliminate any body deficiency for significant improvements in full body strength, for wickedly effective exercising for improving knee function that you can do for quick results, hamstring mobility, stiffness, dysfunction in your back, gaining muscular control in your pelvis, 7 keys to neck and shoulder strength and health. I mean, you really do cover it all across those 5 days. And if somebody misses one of the days, what happens? Are they able to watch it on a replay, or they just have to watch it one of those 3 times a day that you're live?
We really like people to attend live with us, but
Sure.
If you register for the Full Body Fix, you will get a replay of every session. So whether you attend live or not, you will get a replay. So you're actually going to get the session sent to you in your email as well if you register.
Okay, and then what happens at the end of the 5 days? So obviously, you're giving all this information away for free, and then what do you then take people into a program where they can work with you on a more intimate level?
Yeah, after the Full Body Fix. So I want everyone to know too, like when in the Full Body Fix, it's all about like teaching you, providing immense value. So it's not a sales event, but in the end, and along the way, we give some opportunities for those who want to meet with me personally earlier. But in the last session, we also give you an opportunity to become what we call a VIP. So what we call a very important person who becomes very impressive physically, right? VIP. So in our VIP training system, this is where my doctor level team actually works with you personally and guides you through developing a full body optimization. So, getting you through whatever your sticking points are, whether you have a shoulder back issue, or maybe you don't have any issues, or maybe you have osteoporosis, or maybe, whatever your condition is, we help you get through those conditions, and we help you optimize your fitness. And we go through a very detailed process of biomechanical optimization. We have a whole system where we actually come and join us online, and we actually analyze you training through Zoom. So like through a Zoom meeting, and our professional privately analyzes you and give you video feedback, and you have like a personal fitness doctor concierge through the whole system. It's the most elite and world-class fitness training system in the world online. That's really our claim to fame, and specifically for anti-aging fitness. And that's what we offer at the end for those who want to get involved further.
That's great. That's great. I'm just gonna pull up this one comment now. Unfortunately, because the software I'm using, I can't see your name. So maybe you could just tell us what your name is in the next comment. She says, "I'm 75. Thank you. This is wicked helpful. Walking stressed my knees. I've been listening to this while walking in my pool. It's easier on the knees. I got out to write the comments. Will I be able to find the information later? Yes. You will be able to find the information later. Yes, because you'll be able to go back to the Facebook page where this video will be. I don't know, you're either watching on the Facebook page. I think you must be watching on the Facebook group, because that's why it comes up and shows Facebook user. We can't see your actual name, but thank you for commenting. And yeah, that's exactly the sort of thing. I mean, you've got a lot of people that come back to you that say about once they learn about this stability and how to actually make sure that the joints are aligned, that knee problems do start to get better.
Oh yeah, that's the area we have. Well, we have huge improvement in every area, but knee is one of the areas we definitely have huge improvement in. Once you understand the alignment of the knee and what it's supposed to do versus what it's doing now, it can make some very fast improvements actually. So yeah, it's quite profound. So the human body has, and really all living, moving organisms have, but we're talking about humans here. So the human body has a very specific way that the muscles should load and the bone should take the stress to then apply, like to the ground when you're walking, for example. And what happens is like the muscles will contract and recruit, and the joint in the body kind of goes out of alignment. And then the force from the muscles actually what's called attenuate, or kind of stop at the joint. So it adds stress to the joint, and then you lose the force efficiency to the ground. So the things that are causing you issues actually both create more damage to the body and decrease your movement efficiency. So you actually get a double negative whammy by not having body alignment. You actually increase injury and breakdown, and you also lose power output capability. And this becomes a really big deal, like for athletes. It's like they lose the game, they lose the championship match, they're not able to perform it well as a player. Then maybe they don't hit their peak optimal. But one of the reasons why I focus the science for those over the age of 50 is that something even more important happens, and that's you start to lose capability, you start to lose life functionality. And you can actually prevent that by learning how to and applying body mechanics optimization. And once you've done that, then all your fitness results are that much better, because all fitness, all movement, of course, starts with your body mechanics, the way your body's handling and taking stress and load. So once you learn that, like all of your movement in life really does get better, and all your fitness results get better by optimizing your body mechanics.
Yeah, superb. Thank you so much for sharing all this. The lady that wrote "I'm 75," thank you. Her name is Pat, and Samantha has just said, "Afternoon to you both. This sounds great." So, Robbie, thank you so much. We've been chatting for almost 45 minutes. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing so much information with us. And when Robbie and I got together, I was like, there's a lot of people that would love to find out, what they're doing wrong, or what they have been taught wrong potentially, and that may have injuries, and it is important that we look after our health. I mean, a friend of mine he's an entrepreneur, and he went to Necker Island on a business thing with Richard Branson, and Branson was running up this hill, and he must be 76 now, I think 75, 76 years old, and he turned around, and all these people much younger than him were struggling to get up these hills because they were so out of breath. And he said, "This is the way I do it." He said, "This is the way I managed to handle so many things and run so many things." He said, "Because I prioritize my physical health." He says, "I prioritize my physical fitness." He said, "Because if I don't," he said, "then everything starts to slow down." So it's exactly what you're talking about there. The mental clarity, the endorphins, the serotonin you get from actually, even from just, little things like just going for a walk every day, those sort of things. But obviously, you're going to go into much more depth than that. But Robbie, I just want to say thank you for coming on. Thank you for sharing this with our community. And thank you for offering this free 5-day event. And again, if you'd like to find out more about that, just go to timeofthesixthsun.tv/fitness doctor, as you can see on Robbie's logo and on his T-shirt. And It's been lovely to have you with us. Is there anything you'd like to close with? Is there any question I haven't asked you that I should have asked?
No, I think for the subject matter today, you asked all of them. I think we covered everything. Much gratitude for those we've connected with here today on this message, and I know from literally thousands of individuals' experience that what I've shared with you can make a profound difference in your life. I do hope to see you at the Full Body Fix, where I can help you even further. And I also do wish each and individual much love and great prosperity and vitality in life.
And it starts on what day? It starts on the.
It's for us in the U.S. from a U.S. time perspective, it starts this Saturday. So this Saturday. So that'd be like your Sunday.
No, that's right. So it's pretty, and the majority of our viewers are in the US, Canada, and then we also have Europe, and then we have the next day in Australia and New Zealand. But it starts November the 5th. So that's the and it runs from November the 5th through to November the 12th. Every day, and as Robbie said, 3 sessions per day, and you can choose which one you'd like to watch. So I'll put the link into the description. I'll put the link into the comments on Facebook page, Facebook group, and on YouTube. And I'll ping an email out about it as well with more details. So Robbie, thank you for your time, and thank you to your beloved Patricia for helping us set all this up as well. And wish you a beautiful day.
Thank you. I wish you too a beautiful day, Theo.
Cheers, Robbie. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Cheers.